All right, everybody. Hello, welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with a guitar. Back in the old days, they used to call me on the phone, on the landline, and they asked me questions about their guitars. Asked me questions like, hey, man, what's your show about? I say, it's about an hour. About guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So we do respond to questions here. It's hard to get through. You have to try the Twitter. Or you can corner me at Hy-Vee and ask me questions like people do at the local supermarket, because I'm nothing if I'm not a local yokel. Perhaps I'm nothing even if I am. Anyway, we're talking about guitars, guitar playing, all things guitaristic, related topics, guitarrons, guitarras, sitars, lutes, vihuelas, banjos, balalaikas, bouzouki, bajos, sextos, bandurias, bandolas, mandolins, mandoras, pipe organs, piccolos, ocarinas, accordions, harmoniums, harmonicas, and harpsichords, pipe organs, piccolos, clavichords. We've already been through the clavicle thing. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Anything. Trombones and tromboninas, timbales and timpani.
Dulcimers, dobros, and didgeridoos.
Stuff like that. All that stuff. It's a music show. We talk about politics, world events, people's personality problems. Many, many years ago when Phil was still among us, somebody called up and asked for some dating advice. That was like, he asked Phil and me. That's somebody who's hard up for advice. But,
yeah.
Anyway. So I'm trying to dial up a good sound. I had this, I have a red amplifier behind me. I'm going to turn down the bass even more than I did. Because it's, the middle's a little bit okay. All right, so on the program this week, I have here this is a DBZ Hailfire. I've had it for a few years, quite a few years by now, but, well, some years. This was one of my midlife crisis guitars I have hanging on the rack on the end there, sorry. I have this one, I have the Lamborghini Yellow Flying V, I have that bright blue Guild T-Bird, and a couple other slightly less obnoxious guitars on that rack. But this one and the Lamborghini Yellow Flying V are the most obnoxious, especially that Lamborghini Yellow Flying V, which I've had in the show. But anyway, this is a DBZ, which DBZ guitars no longer exist. It's a DBZ Diamond, so this is a transition to Diamond guitars. And I don't know what's going on with Diamond guitars, but probably not much. I think somebody's sitting on a warehouse with a bunch of, whatever's left of the... So this is a company that... Dean Brian Zielinski, I believe, the Dean Guitars, the guy who founded Dean Guitars when he was about 16 years old or something. And I guess the investor took that company away from him. I don't know, maybe he's hard to deal with or something. I don't know what his story is. But quite convinced in his ability to design guitars, and he does design some pretty good guitars. So after Dean left Dean Guitars, he did DBZ, Dean B. Zielinski. And so there are DBZs, and I have a couple of DBZs. It says DBZ, and they have this brass, plate up here that says DBZ on it with his initials and everything. And then anyway, he got forced out of that company. So this is a DBZ by Diamond, and Diamond, there's a guy's name says Diamond Amplifiers. It's a boutique, highly expensive guitar amplifier company, So now they're Diamond guitars, and I do have a Diamond guitar or two at home. So I've got the whole kind of range. I even have a Dean jazz guitar, which is actually pretty nice. Anyway, so this is what this is. This is a DBZ Diamond, transitional. And I think you can still get one of these that says Diamond on it. But they have a bunch of them in a warehouse in Muncie, Indiana, of all places. So anyway. Sorry. Anyway, so I got this guitar. And behind me is a Fender Frontman 25R. And it looks brand spanking new. However, a couple things you might notice is the headphone jack is a 1/4 inch instead of an 1/8 inch. And they're all 1/8 inch nowadays, right? And for the auxiliary in, which would be how you put your CD or your tape deck in, like tape in, used to say tape in on them when they were really old. It's RCA instead of another 1/8" cord.
Mini phone.
Yeah, mini plug, yeah. So that's old. And I kind of like it. It's got a chime to it. I'm not sure if I'm liking the sound I'm getting with this guitar on it, because when I was using it earlier, I had different instruments. I've been playing this one through a big fat tube amp at home. Because I said I took this one took a tumble, fell off the wall, and I got a chip out of the back of it, put red nail polish on it, and then just left it there for the last couple of years. And then a couple weeks ago, I took it down, I cleaned it all up, got all the dust and stuff, and lemon oiled the fingerboard and restrung it, did a couple of minor adjustments, and didn't get all the schmutz. That's Yiddish, isn't it? Schmutz? Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not Jewish or anything. But anyway, I think I'm what they call, out in Pennsylvania, they call it German-Irish white trash.
Ah.
It's all one, phrase.
Yeah.
It's identified as a label. German-Irish white trash, they call them. Anyway, so I cleaned it all up and I restrung it, and it's ready to go. It's got a little chip out the back of it. It's probably not worth much to somebody else, but you can scarcely see it. I guess you can see a little bit there. Got to do more here. But yeah.
I look into a light when I look up that way, so.
All right. See, well, there you go. You can't even tell. All right. But the other guitar I brought this week to play, I'm a little ashamed of this. It's okay. So I borrowed this from the Musicians Pro Shop. It came in. Went in there last week to talk to the boss, James, who's there on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I usually pester him on Wednesday afternoons, and I have to give him a little bit of money because I owe him some money.
Support your habit.
Yeah. Keep it even, keep it even. But anyway, he was just fixing up this guitar, this over here, and I'll play this in a minute, but.
It's a good-looking guitar.
Yeah, it's a good-looking guitar. This is an Epiphone, but apparently it's an Epiphone made in the USA. Some years ago, I don't know the exact history of it, but what I heard about it was it looks exactly like a Paul Reed Smith, a PRS. Got a nice big maple cap on it, mahogany. The neck and body are one big piece of wood, so it should have good sustain. It says Epiphone on it. Epiphone is the Asian import for Gibson, and some are pretty good, some aren't that good. Some are chintzy and cheap, some are pretty nice. Some of them are better than the Gibsons they make in Nashville. And but that is a copy of a PRS, an old PRS, Paul Reed Smith, which are like $2,000, $5,000 guitars. I have one of the cheap ones. It's like a $1,500 PRS. Had it at the show a couple of times, but one like that. So that's a lawsuit one. They only made 200. Is the story I heard, and then they had to stop because they got sued by PRS, as in Paul Reed Smith. So I have yet to plug this in. I'll do that next, but first. All right. I'm not going to play anymore. This is time when we tell guitar player jokes, I guess. I don't know. Two guys walking down the street. One of them was a guitar player. The other one, he didn't have any money either.
How does a guitar player improve his gas mileage?
Take the pizza sign off the top of his car.
Yep.
What do you call a guitar player who breaks up with his girlfriend?
Homeless.
Yeah. What's the difference between a guitar player and a U.S. savings bond?
The savings bond matures and makes money.
That's right.
What's the difference between a puppy and a singer-songwriter?
Sooner or later, the puppy's going to grow up and stop whining.
You may think we've told these before.
Well, we know them well. How do you get a Nashville songwriter off your porch?
Pay for the pizza.
That's right. Yeah. I like the one where the Zen master goes up to the hot dog stand and says, "Make me one with everything."
You're one with everything.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I think that there's a continuation of it. He gives him, he pays for his hot dog with a $20 bill, and then the guy behind the counter just doesn't give him anything back. He says, "Where's my change?" And the guy behind the counter says, "Change comes from within." But I'm not sure if that's a Zen joke or a psychologist joke. So, anyway. You can tell a lot about I was going to play O Little Town of Bethlehem, but it was out of tune now. I don't feel like it anymore. You can tell about any profession by the light bulb joke. It has to be a good joke. It has to be something based on on that profession or that group of people. The guitar player one is, how many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? 101. One to screw it in. 100 more stand around saying, "Oh, I can do that." But anyway, let me just do something in C major. The problem is I don't like the tone I'm getting out of this amp. I just grabbed this amp instead of the tube amp because it's kind of cold outside. And this is kind of a curiosity to me. And I even haven't taken the price tag off of this little red amp. Okay. So one of my problems is that the strings aren't properly stretched out on this thing. I thought they were. So I fixed this guitar up a couple weeks ago, and I hung it up on the wall again. And I thought I should take it on the show, and I thought, well, maybe this week, because next week is the Tom's Guitar Show Holiday Spectacular. In fact, anybody who wants to play my show next week should contact me. What I've got is some of my students are going to come on the show. We're going to play some stuff together. Little kids and then people in my age group, and very little in between. Maybe there's maybe one college student, I don't know. Has to be a local college student because for the colleges where I work, next week is finals week. And
After that, they all spread to the hinterlands.
that's right. One guy, Emilio, who is an American citizen, he's born in the U.S. He's one of those kind of guys who, when he was in high school, he lived in Laredo on the Mexican side. And then he'd get on a bus every morning to go to high school in Laredo, Texas, on the U.S. side. And so he's going to go home and for Christmas to the Mexican side of the border. But the thing is, he's going to try to leave, because they're going to close the dorms, and his one fear is that they won't let him back in the country. Now, he's a U.S. citizen. His parents are not. And if they close the border, just think of all the trouble that would cause for people who are like borderline cases like him, you know?
Yeah, last week they did that.
Yeah. Like
Closed the border for a day.
yeah. And
Lots of Americans couldn't get into, lots of U.S. citizens couldn't get into the U.S.
that's right.
And then all the deliveries.
That's right. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get this thing being. Actually, I'm going to let this go for a minute because I'm having more trouble with it than I want. It's strings are stretching out like crazy. I thought I was all ready to go. Cool guitar though. I'm going to try the other one. Now, the other one has a strap button on the horn, so we'll see if I can even hold it up properly. How about that? No? That's not safe. Here. How's that? Can't fall far that time. Okay. I'll turn this around and get the brown side of this one. All right, see if this thing will tune up. Okay. So I don't have to own this guitar. I can take it right back and first thing in the morning and forget I ever had it in my possession. It's not bad at balance, actually. Remind me not to like this very much. Because as I say, I'm only just trying it out. It needs tuning too. So yeah, so this is a lawsuit Epiphone PRS copy. Probably some sort of prototype. I don't know whatever possessed him to do such a thing, but maybe stretch these strings out. Sure is pretty though. It needs stretching. Okay. Tell some jokes, I suppose.
How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb?
Only one, but it has to want to change. Yeah. That's right. There are a lot of musician jokes that revolve around perfect pitch. Like, well, one would be, what do you call perfect pitch? When you throw
Toss
it.
an accordion in the dumpster, it doesn't hit the sides.
That's right. Or you toss a accordion out the window and it hits a banjo player or something like that. You know? Yeah. So, yeah. I have other jokes, but probably shouldn't tell them on this show, huh?
Yeah, probably should have mentioned the one about the mice and the light bulb.
I was thinking about that one just when you were telling that one the psychologist one.
Yeah.
I was thinking that one, but I had the good taste to keep it to myself.
Yeah.
Some people say that jokes are dead, but no, there's kind of observational humor where you basically make fun of people, which is what we're doing with these jokes, of course. But the thing about jokes is you tell a little story. It has to be true or have some truth in it, or truthiness, or else it wouldn't be funny, you know. Okay. It's like watching TV. All right, let's do this. Let's see what happens. That's humming a little bit, isn't it? Well, that one's humming something furious. It's buzzing on me, man. Let's see what it buzzes more, less, more, less. Hey, if it buzzes, maybe I don't have to buy it, huh? Sure is pretty. But this guitar is a lie. It's a PRS lie. Okay. Well, I know something about this guitar. If I had any sense, I'd play some of these great guitars I already have. But it's one of those things, you know. I'd call it musical promiscuity, but I think that's not appropriate for a family show, so I won't say it. Okay, here we go. Put this back. Don't go anywhere now. I don't want to buy you broken. Does that say Gibson on it? I think it does. That guitar is a lie. Okay. Oops. Yeah, this guitar is not. Hang on. There we go. Okay. So here we go again. Eve. I'll put this over here. I want to take a whole bunch of guitars, bring a whole bunch of guitars in this show and compare them again. I do those shows sometimes. We're still in the process of trying to get the studio together. We've upgraded a lot of things. So, okay, hang on. I'm going to tune this thing again. Try to. So we're trying to upgrade the studio and make it ready for the 21st century. Perfectly ready for the 1990s before. But as the poet said, at times they are a-changing. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to do about the holiday special next week. I've been thinking about hanging some mistletoe off of my guitar, but that seems like that might invite the wrong kind of attention, especially at some of my gigs. You know, you think somebody really nice might want to come up and kiss you. That'd be nice, I suppose, but it could well be somebody else. More likely.
Remember when Mayor Daley used to say, "You don't like it? Notice the mistletoe on my coat tail."
Yeah, oh boy. Yeah, well, there would be a guy who knows.
He had his way of handling dissonant.
Yeah. What a good way to handle dissent. Well, we can't do that here on Tom's Guitar Show, but I was thinking about, I like to hang something. I have a kind of a little, somebody, one of my students, or maybe their parent, or somebody crocheted a little Frosty the Snowman, and with a little string on his hat, you know, so he could dangle. So I have him dangling off the headstock of my main gig guitar out the Tuscan Moon, where, by the way, I'll be this weekend.
That's in Kelowna?
That's in Kelowna. Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Start a little early on Thursdays. I'll be, you know, like 5:30, something like that. 5:30.
Need a reservation these days?
You probably would be a good idea. It's hit and miss. There have been some really busy times. This is like the beginning of the real, like the Christmas rush.
Yeah.
So I would recommend getting reservations. But grave reservations. Is that when you pick out your plot at the cemetery in advance?
Could be.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, I have reservations. And, if I said some Cherokee person said, tell me about it, that would be wrong, wouldn't it?
Probably.
Okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay, so I'm sorry. I just lost my audience, but there's only two of them out there anyways.
You ever hear of Thomas Alva Strongbow?
Oh.
He was an electrician, first man that ever wired ahead for a reservation.
Oh. All right, well, okay. Anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so something about how I was hanging the snowman off of the headstock of my gig guitar, which I just restrung today, which is not very exciting to anybody else. It's possible that somebody out there who has the same sort of like love of classical guitars that I do, and there aren't that many of us anymore. Actually, the guy who used to be the music librarian at Coe College, which is one of the places where my many jobs, he got laid off. He got downsized after like 30 years or something, anyway, or more. But he said the reason people didn't like classical guitar anymore is because they figured out it was hard, you know, because I don't get that many classical guitar students. What I do is take some high school rock star. When he goes to college, I say, if you really want to learn how to play guitar, you got to take, you know, a couple semesters of classical guitar for sure. Yeah. And I try to drag them. Anyway, anyway, so I restrung that guitar that has the Frosty the Snowman hanging off of it or whatever. Today, so the strings will stretch out by Thursday or Friday, because I have another guitar that makes a good guitar. But I've discovered that maybe Labella 2001s, a string that I've been using and trying out now and then since 2001 was going to be in the future someday. So they still make them. So I don't know what the 2001 stands for, but I thought that was for that mythical future date. So it went whizzing by a long time ago. Anyway, I've been using Dodero Pro Artes forever. Like, almost nobody cares. But I'll tell you, I've been using Pro Artes, and I've discovered, because I had a set of Labella 2001s sitting around, that I kind of like what they did to this one Spanish guitar that I had. And so my electric flamenco guitar is also made in Spain, and I just put those on there. And so far, it's not staying in tune very well, but so far, it sounds really good. I think, oh, man, we're talking polymers, man. I mean, nylon, you know, it's plastic. You know what, polymers are lots of MERS, I guess, is the way you line up the electrons, and polymers is lots of them. I don't know, man. Long time since I took AP chemistry. Anyway, all the chemical engineers out there can attest to this. It's the way you line up all the little electrons. So one thing I noticed is that, well, especially the smaller amplifiers, if it's not pointed at your head, it doesn't sound all that great. And so I tried like bending over a little bit and listening to it, so my head was closer to be in front of the speaker instead of up here, and it sounds a whole lot better. So yeah, sometimes I play these shows, with this little amp stand that just tilts it back a little bit, and then I think, it didn't sound good all night long. And then I go home and I watch it on YouTube and realize, hey, that sounded pretty good. I mean, tone-wise, not in my playing, but the tone, see. So the thing is that the way it is now, it's tilted back, so at least my ankles aren't the ones hearing it the best. It's now my knees are hearing the best, but my ears are still up here on my head. So anyway, that's my story. So,
If it sounds good to the audience, it's Dennis' job.
I suppose. I mean, I'm sure Ramji Balakrishnan isn't watching, but he has that kind of Hindi accent. And that's a story. Maybe violating some confidence. But his son took guitar lessons from me for quite a few years. His classical guitar, which is kind of demanding. It's kind of hard to do, So I gave him a kind of difficult assignment. And he was grumbling about this on his way out when his father came pick him up. So I said, remember, you were put on this earth to suffer. And his father says, are you Catholic? Which I thought was, anyway. So yeah, that's how I view my, I grew up at St. Mary's across town here, see, so anyway. I don't know if I'm violating any, they had the folk mass. Vatican II was in the mid-60s or whatever, so they're trying to introduce the folk mass to make it more relevant. So they stopped using Latin in the mass, and they started, doing English, and then, or whatever the language was. And around here it's,
The local language, wherever they were.
yeah, locally it's pretty much English here, some patois. And so at the folk mass, so the guy who was, Glenn Jablonski, who was the music director of that church for like his, became aware of him when I was like 4 years old or something like that, when I first, became aware when I go to church on Sunday. He was there for many, many years. But he was also one of the music teachers in the school system. He was the choir director at my high school, and he was the music teacher in the junior high when the music teacher we had when I was in 7th grade, she died of cancer, unfortunately, and then so he took over the junior high also. So I had this guy, basically all my formative years in church and school and everything. So, I always wanted to play guitar ever since I was a little kid. And that one, the little boy says to his dad, "Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a guitar player." His
Make
dad
up
says,
your mind, son.
Yeah. Can't have it both ways, son. Anyway, make up your mind. Anyway, so I had to get up there in front of the church and strum the guitar. And it was very simple. All the songs are the same 4 chords, which is the G minor, C, D. So I was thinking, they should have worked harder on these songs, because they're like, the one like sons of God, hear his holy word, gather round the table of the Lord, eat his body, drink his blood, and we'll sing a song of love. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Wow, that's kind of weird, man. Yeah. Eat his body, drink his blood, and we'll sing a song of love. And then, when they had the offertory where they passed the basket, taking the money. In those days, of course, bread was a slang term for money.
Yeah.
Take our bread, we ask you, take our hearts. We love you, we are yours. It's like, take our bread, we ask you, take our we love you, we are yours. But take our bread. And I'm up there, and I'm scared to death and everything, but I probably told this story before, but I'm scared because I'm like 15, and it's a pretty big church, and they're all up there, and I'm standing there next to the music director, strumming the guitar, and but I thought, this is really funny when you think about it. I mean, the other song is kind of gruesome, and but the eating his body, drinking his blood, that's, but now take our bread. So yeah, okay, here's the money, taking our bread. Anyway, never mind. It was one of those things in life, Anyway, it's almost over, isn't it? That clock says it's 6:58. I got a new phone. Finally got it cooked up here. Look at that. This is 6:52.
I also have 6:52.
Okay.
That clock's set fast.
Well, we can goof off. I mean, we can tell jokes. I got my new one.
It was 8 or 9 minutes after 6 by that clock when we started, too. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then we know we're off. Okay.
Well, I suppose one of our executives will come around and give us some sort of a signal when time's up.
Yeah, I heard Mr. Skupinski is sick.
I wondered if you'd heard anything of him.
He called, apparently. I didn't talk to him, but I heard about it. Remember the good old days where we used this show to train new recruits here? This was the studio workshop taught by Mr. Skupinski, but right now we're not actually using this studio, we're using our mobile unit. And we're hoping to get everything together here by next week, because next week is a Tom's Guitar Show Spectacular with a Christmas show.
Will we be back on the cable by then?
I hope so. That's the plan. We're going to be back this week. We're going to be back last week. We're going to be back last month. Never mind.
Someday we may be back on the cable again.
Yeah. That's not over yet. So, anyway, that's the story. So. If I turn the volume up all the way, that's booming, but if I turn it down a little bit, well, this is one of those shows where I'm just like, spend a whole hour trying to get a good sound and try to get the thing to stay in tune.
Well, you spent quite a bit of this show playing the guitar.
Well, some of it, yeah.
You know,
I should spend it all probably, but
people got their money's worth on music tonight.
I actually have people tell me that they like our repartee.
Ah,
So, uh, so I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's entertainment to anybody anymore.
well, you did go all the guitar show, so you probably should play the guitar some. But
I suppose, yeah. Well, at least I'm holding the guitar, right? Got one strapped onto me right here. Got another one behind me. This one fails. Got another one. So, you know, I've taken a walk on the wild side. I've used banjo. I do want to do a bass show, do bass guitars. I got this thing about using the bass guitar as a solo instrument, and also, you know, and then of course playing bass. But you know,
yeah.
you know how many bass players it takes to screw in a light bulb? 1 5 1 5 1 5. Now I always think that the jokes, that you live the joke, you know. So, like how many guitar players take to screw in a light bulb 101, one to screw it in 100 standard and say, I can do that. See, when the guitar player, you see somebody do something and say, I can do that, and then you go home and work it out. See, so I live that joke. The thing about the bass player joke is the alternating bass line. C to G, C, G, C, D, E, F, G. That's 1 5 1 5 1. She's a good-hearted woman in love with a good timing man. 5 1 5. Teardrops and laughter that go through this world hand in hand. I teach bass also. I have a modest collection of bass. I only have 4 basses at home right now. 3 bass guitars, 1 with frets, 2 without, 1 with 4 strings, 1 with 5, and a string bass standing up there in my bedroom waiting for me to dust it off. I used to play, I go through phases where I play a lot of string bass, but I have a bow issue. And I have a really funky bow that I can't stand to use. And I have 2 actually half-decent French bows, but I want a German bow. My German bow is fiberglass, and it kind of broke, and it's held together with some tape, and it's really terrible. So I asked the guy out there at West who fixes bows and sells basses and bows and stuff. He's a bass player. And really, I can't get a half-decent bow for less than $600, and really I should, you know, spring for $800 or $900 to get a reasonably decent bow. If I really want a good bow, I should spend upwards of $2,000. And for bow.
That should be a good bow.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good bow. But even getting a you know, fairly adequate bow is supposed to be like $600, you know, or between 6 and 8. And the quality starts at like 800 or 900, and really, you know, but really, you know, you shouldn't, you know, play, you know, anyway, you should get at least 2,000. Anyway, so that's why I kind of like, I mean, I can do pizzicato, but then my problem there is if I just want to play the bass thump, thump, thump like a, you know,
Yeah, that's the only way I ever saw you play it.
Yeah,
don't think I've ever seen you with a bow.
Well, see, I've got a bow issue. I got bow problems. I like the bow because I can play it. It's like a cello, only lower, you know, and it's cool. And I like the German bow. It's an overhanded bow. And I never could play the underhanded bow. I could never play the overhanded bow. So the German bow is like this, you see. And you know, play, because the bass actually isn't a violin. The bass violin is a cello. The string bass is a double bass viol, and it's the last of the viols. It used to be a very popular instrument. Kind of died out in the 1700s. The only one left we have is a string bass, you know, except for like historical instruments. So, but they had the underhanded bow, and it really makes more sense because this, you just don't get enough, you know, don't push hard enough. This would like just let the weight of the bow, you know, say, wait, I said I gotta dig in there if I'm gonna keep it from squawking. So, I'm a German bow kind of guy. I grew up with a German bow and the orchestra and everything. So yeah, but if I want to just do pizzicato bass, I should get different strings because I got these big metal strings that are good for the bowing, and then you do the pizzicato in the orchestra, you know. But if you want to go thump 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 thump, you tear your fingers up. So I need the, you know, swing bass. And but you know, it doesn't cost me anything at all if it just stands there in the bass stand, waiting for me, gathering dust. Anyway, Aaron's either giving me the peace sign or telling me I only got 2 minutes left. So anyway, that's my story. The thing I want to do, though, is I'd like to have a show where I bring the different kinds of bass guitars that I have, and maybe the string bass. And then it would be Tom's bass show.
Remember Peter, Paul, and Mary used to have a joke. Said that was a challenge to a race.
What?
That came from Churchill.
Uh-huh.
He smoked a cigar, and from time to time he turned to other people and say, "Want a drag?"
Ah. Uh-huh. Drag racing it. Anyway, we're winding down this show here. Back next week with a holiday spectacular, or the winter concert, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to do the kids and some adults too, playing seasonally appropriate music, I suppose. And that's, and they'll have a couple, maybe another show after that, and then it's going to be closed for a little while, a couple weeks for winter break, and we'll start again in 2019.